Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Winner Circle of RE/MAX Caribbean and Central America. Today is May 29, 2020, and we have an exciting speaker who's our special guest today. Her name is Shawna Gilbert. Shawna, I will introduce her in 1 second. But first, there is a slide that I want to share with you guys. I want to commend everyone that is on the line. You are the choir. You are hardcore. You are planting. You are planting seeds. You're preparing for the future. I know the people that are here. I know their mentality. They have a big vision, and they are not wasting time during the quarantine. They are taking the opportunity to prepare themselves, reach out to clients, learn new technologies, implement new things. So I just wanted to say, guys, we know your effort. We know that you're planting, like this guy in the picture, you know, the farmer. That's what he's doing. He's thinking of the future. That's exactly what you're doing. So I commend you for that. I thank you for your efforts, for being here. And sometimes you take, everybody does this. We forget who we are. We have 500 members in the region. But of the 500, only 1 or 200 show up to these winner circles. Where are the other 300? Well, the other 300 are not planting. They are taking a break in a hammock. And it's fine to do that also, but being here is a key thing during your week. So I commend you. The people that are here are very, very special in my opinion, in my heart. I have you with me all the time. Now, I want to officially introduce our guest speaker, who's Shawna Gilbert. Shawna is VP of the Global Development Department at the RE/MAX Global Headquarters. She, as most young women, she is a very, very busy person. She, you see a picture here with her beautiful family in the Colorado mountains. And also in the other picture, you see her with her global team. She's the person that leads the global team. And you might recognize several of these faces. So Shawna, welcome. Thank you for being here. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm good. I'm excited. I'm, been waiting for today just because, I'm going to echo your sentiment, Ricardo, and say that I know on the line, we're with leaders, this is the leadership circle, and I see you, I see what you guys are doing. I see you guys on social. We do have people that have hidden during this time, and you are not those people. You're here on a Friday morning when, thank you for all not having the beaches behind you, because you would make me so envious of places I wish I could be right now, outside of the 4 walls of my home in Parker, Colorado, which I've been now since March 13th. So thank you for not all having your beautiful beaches behind you. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if that's okay. And this is going to be a presentation conversation. I was trying to think of how to combine those 2 words, but I wasn't creative enough this morning. So I'm going to be presenting. However, if there's something you want to elaborate on or a question that you have, if you could put it in the chat, and Christina, if you could help me keep an eye out for that if I miss. But let's talk. And so I'm going to share a presentation here. And you may have seen, I originally titled this, the 5 ways that you can pivot during a crisis. And I have actually struggled because I wanted to name it something that was a little more personable. So this morning I came up with leadership lessons I have learned during a global pandemic, which I believe is way more fitting, because these are things that I've seen when it comes to leadership over the last 12 weeks. I think we're in 12 weeks now. Every week I tend to lose our timing. So we're going to talk about some things that I've learned, both on the leadership skill side, the things that I've seen in the leaders that I follow, the things that the traits that I've wanted to acquire, and the skills that I felt I needed to hone in on, if I want to be a great leader during a global pandemic. And then in addition, looking at the business side, obviously things changed very drastically, very quickly. We went in on March 12th, I had a business plan that looked like X, and March 13th, I had a business plan that looked like, XYZ, ABC, right? It changed so quickly to where I had to pivot very, very quick. I had to pivot what we were, not necessarily the goals. Our goals remain the same as a team, but we had to pivot in how we are going to get there. And, obviously going back into March, we don't know, and we still today in May have no idea what this looks like when we come out. We have no idea what it looks like and when. I've heard some of the countries have started to come out. Countries like South Africa finally got to a level to where they can start having conversations with consumers again and doing any part of the transaction. So it in a matter of hours and days and weeks, your business from what it looked like then looks very different than what it looks like now. And then it looks probably dramatically different what it's going to look like in the future. So let's talk a little bit about some of these lessons I've learned. But first, we need in real estate especially, where we need to show that we genuinely care. I wanted to start out with a little bit of gratitude, because obviously I'm here because of the efforts of every single person that's on this call. I have a position, RE/MAX hasn't furloughed any employees because we have amazing people continuing to drive their businesses. We have successful entrepreneurs around the world who, during even a global crisis, didn't stop. They continued to run. And so I want to say thank you to all of you who kept your heads up, kept the fear and the anxiety kind of inside of you, and reflected a leader, reflected the optimism, reflected everything that you needed to not only keep your families in the right mindset, but your communities and those around you, our broker owners on this call, your teams. My goal in the very beginning, not knowing what was going to happen, was to make sure two things. One, my team makes it to the other side of whatever this looks like. We make it through together. We make it through with healthy bodies, with healthy minds, with healthy hearts, and that was my first and foremost goal. Second, every single business owner that we have, we went into this with a few weak businesses, right? And unfortunately, when we have a crisis, when you have a bad economy, that weakness is exacerbated. It comes to the forefront, and that's where you cannot hide. And so we wanted to make sure not only do we support and put our arms around, embrace our strong businesses, but really, do our best to try to get those weak businesses to be able to make it through. I want to try to get through 100% of our global presence from the start to the end. That was my second goal. Third goal is I looked at our business plan. And I said, even through a global pandemic, we're going to get there. We're going to still get to the numbers that we envisioned at the end of 2019. We're going to get there, but we're going to have to figure out how to do that. So that was my first thoughts, when it came to the uncertainty, but also when I looked in my heart, it is full of extreme gratitude for everybody who's involved within our network. So thank you. I love this image because this is what I was just speaking to. As leaders, our goal is we have one side that we have to get people over, and you're the conduit to get there. Every single one of you are leading a team, you're leading, your clients, you're leading everybody through this. And so the image of kind of helping and how are you the hand that gets people across? How are you the one that's going to implement the leadership skills, traits to get people from one side to the other in a healthy manner? So number one, the first and foremost, the first skill that I noticed you need, obviously leadership comes in a package of many, many, many skills, lots of things that you need to make sure that you can successfully lead, you can successfully run your business, and that was communication. Communication became the forefront of this crisis. Zoom, the way that we communicated became very different. Many people had to look at the way that you could connect. If you're a really great connector in person, how do you create that online? How do you create that presence online and make it a way that you could successfully communicate? You have to communicate clearly. You have to be concise. You have to be consistent. But I think most important, we had to be authentic, and you had to be genuinely caring for the network that you were serving. It wasn't a time for any BS. People saw right past the BS the second that you went in. The term that developed from this that I really love, and have said it on every single call that I had, serving is selling, right? There was a time when you were selling, and then there was a time to switch gears and to start serving the people that are within your network. Let's see, I'm just checking the chat here because it pings me. Okay, perfect.
Shawna, and just so you know, I will keep an eye on the chat and I will let you know, so you won't have to be doing
Excellent.
both.
I'm going to move the image over to the side then, so that I don't have to see it. So thanks for driving that. I appreciate it. Okay, so communication, number one. So check yourself, make sure that you were communicating, and I already know that you have been, otherwise you would not be on this call. The second skill, let's see if I can drive again. There you go. Adaptability. This one was so important, to be able to adapt on a daily basis to what came at you. You guys on a previous call, one of your earliest calls, you went through the cycle of emotion that you went through this pandemic. And hopefully everybody is at the acceptance phase. Hopefully we still don't have people still trying to seek clarity within it. Hopefully it's the acceptance phase and you have adapted to what this is. Now, a lot of people talk about the new normal of all of this, and to be honest, I don't like that term. However, I haven't come up with anything that's even better. I like new reality, because I feel with new normal, it's something that you are just having to accept. It's actually not something that you need to adapt to. This isn't something that we have to accept. I mean, we do have to adapt. It is here, and adaptability is so important. Adaptability is approaching problems that you have in a different way. So this is obviously a major problem, and it's going at it and thinking different, thinking creatively on how you might be able to have a different perspective and a different solution to the problem. Adaptability is also where you look at what wasn't working. Now's a perfect time to look at what wasn't working and change it so that it does work. How do you look at your business effectively? And hopefully you already have the things that were your number one skill set. Costa Rica, you have a market where you have tourists coming in. That's not happening, right? You had to adapt and not only look at the business for what it is right now, but you also have to look at it for what it may be. And it really is a guess right now, because we don't know. We don't know when you're going to allow tourists back in. We don't know when you're going to start being able to do more online sales. So right now you have to adapt to the market, but be ready to adapt again, because the second you get comfortable, it's going to change. So make sure that you just don't adapt once. This is a constant change to fit the altered circumstances. I think one of the most important pieces of adaptability too, though, is to make sure that you're not changing your core values while you adapt. You are who you are, the things that matter to you, and the things that are most important still need to maintain within your core. And with that, then you can adapt to your unique value proposition with that. Leadership skill number 3 that I saw really happen during this pandemic is self-control. This is the ability to be frantic inside, crazy inside, screaming inside, fearful, the anxiety, and be able to put that deep inside. You can still feel it, but self-control is not exposing it to others. Self-control is where you stay calm. It's where you can really think through the situation because you have more calmness, you have more clarity. When you're frantic, you're grasping at thoughts and you're grasping at ideas and you're gonna throw anything on the wall until it sticks. Self-control lets you think through repercussions. It helps you think through consequences of some of the decisions. We need to move fast right now, but you need to move fast and smart. Don't move so fast that you risk your business and have repercussions that you're not ready for that could be worse than the result. So stay calm. And I like on the fingers, there's balance, there's calmness, determination, confidence, and willpower. All of those, you can also add resilience. All of that encompasses resilience as well. Leadership skill number 4 is relationship management. So relationship management, as you've seen, you have had to manage many people through this pandemic and their personalities. Many of you know personalities and personality styles. Throw a pandemic on it and it completely changes what you might know. This is one where you have to know who you are and how you manage relationships, but most importantly, you have to meet people where they are. Wherever they are, you need to adapt. This is one where you need to be the leader and you need to encompass the skill to be able to allow them to be who they are and feel what they're feeling. And you can genuinely support, you can genuinely care. Also at the same time as mentoring and being a leader and helping to get them out of where they are. And this is very important for our broker owners who are leading their team of agents. You probably have a spectrum of relationships and personalities within your offices, and know that the way that you're working with one may not be the same way that you need to work with another. Agents on this call, it's the same with you. When you have consumers, you're going to have people all over the board. Meet them where they are. Be the one that adapts your personality to the others. This is a high empathy time. If you haven't read much on emotional intelligence, this is the time to really understand what that means and how you need to use that in this relationship management. This is being empathetic, it's being sympathetic, even if the feelings and even if the thoughts on what we're going through are drastically different than yours. That doesn't matter. Don't try to get them into your sense of believing. Just try to get them in a healthy spot so that you can establish and add even more a deeper relationship with your clients. Number 5 is creativity. You guys have probably heard a lot or seen a lot of webinars on thinking out of the box. This is the example of thinking out of the box because we had to. Many people who hadn't embraced technology were forced to embrace technology, were forced to put it into their business. One of our region owners from South Africa, he said, yes, we've really pivoted and we've really added technology into our business, but to be honest, these are things we probably should have already been doing before a pandemic. Be creative. Do not only the things that we have to do, but go one step further. Because obviously now everybody's doing Zoom. And I don't know about you, but I get very, very zoomed out by the end of a day. I've had to get a new chair because I've sat in this chair for so many hours in a day, and even got a stand-up desk to change my scenery. But because we're sitting here and because your clients are getting, adapting with others the same exact way, be creative and go one step over that. And how can you connect? So those were the 5 skills that I saw coming out of this. This was, as leaders, as entrepreneurs, these are the 5 top out of the probably hundreds of leadership skills that you need to have to effectively lead. Make sure that you're checking yourself in these 5 areas. And if there's something that you're falling short on, gain more clarity, find a mentor that really is strong in that section, and make sure that you're adding that skill and elaborating on it. Any questions or comments before we kind of move into the other side of this, which is how you can pivot your business?
Thank you, Shawna. I just posted in the chat box a question for everybody. Is which leadership skills strikes you the most and why? 1, communication, adaptability, self-control, relationship management, and creativity. Julie, she had told me. Christina, maybe you can help us with Julie, please.
Sure. So Julie from Honduras, from the island of Utila, asks, so you talked about being zoomed out. How do you recommend we prioritize all these requests and meetings? There is only so much we can do in one day.
Correct. And Nick Bailey, our Chief Customer Officer, I think said it the best, that there are a lot of Zoom calls. And when you're on a call and you have realized that there really isn't a purpose for you to be there, you need to exit that call, right? I even told the team, we have a lot of calls. If I have you on a call that you feel that you're not adding anything to and you're not getting anything from, you have permission to leave that phone call. And the reason is because I have to manage burnout on Zoom with the team, and they have to make them feel that their contribution is valid and that I'm not wasting their time. You are the leader of your business, and you need to make sure you're prioritizing the calls that are in need of those that you're serving. But I think also you have to manage them for multiple phone calls. So a lot of the people that we have to serve and meet them where we are, I'm going to use the term needy. However, they have needs that they need met. But that doesn't mean that you have to meet that need anytime that they have it. So you need to manage those conversations and make sure that you're putting your priorities first. I have two kids, as you saw, who are my #1 priority. My family's #1, and I can be on Zoom. Yesterday we were on from 5:30 in the morning, and I was still on at 8:30 at night. However, I made sure that I made the time in between to manage what my priority is and get off Zoom. So it's hard because we are running a marathon, and hopefully you guys are starting to see a little bit of break from the Zoom, because some of your markets are coming out of lockdown. And I think that's going to be a natural pivot, because I think people are going to, we went an extreme right. We were doing Zoom when we had to, many people weren't even comfortable being on camera, to having our business be completely on Zoom, everybody being on camera. There's going to be a medium that I think naturally happens that's going to help you to prioritize and get that balance back. It was a long answer for that question. Any other questions before we move on, or comments? I'd love to hear, any of you who have really found that you didn't know you excelled in these areas until you were put to the test. Was there a leadership skill that you found was one of your top traits that happened to be effective during a crisis?
No, I don't think we have any more questions.
Okay. All right. Well, if you haven't figured out that you found it, then that means that you got to hone in on that skill and build it a little bit more. Okay. So I put this slide in here, not as a shock and not as an awe, but this is the reality, right? This is where we are. This is I look at it not for the numbers on the side. This is from Johns Hopkins University. This is COVID-19 trends as of last week. I look at it for the red dots. And I look at it for the red dots because I also know where our RE/MAX countries are and the impact that this is having on those countries. Because obviously that comes into play with decisions that we make on the business side, with support side, resource side, prioritizing, all of that. So this I put here that this is our new reality. This is something that I look at on a weekly basis now that I didn't look at obviously 3 months ago. This is a map that we are working on. So don't focus. This is our RE/MAX map. And this is our map of lockdown status. This is as of last week. We're looking to finalize because we're still getting data as to what a partial lockdown, a full lockdown, a no lockdown in place looks like. But as you can see, the effect that I want you to have on this map is to look at all the red. We have half of our RE/MAX countries that have a full lockdown. And when we talk about a full lockdown means that real estate, despite shelter being an essential necessity for any human being, shelter and real estate was not considered essential. These are countries that had no ability to show homes, even virtually. These had no ability to do a single transaction, and are the ones that this impacted the most, in that if they wanted to do something, if they wanted to have contact, they were so limited. And so we look at this as, more on the business side of how do we get, how do we lobby governments? How do we support them in lobbying governments to find that real estate is essential? How do we support them, during this time when they can't do anything? So this is the new reality. We are all in this together. This is the one time that we are all dealing with the exact same challenge at the exact same time. Which leads me to this. This quote runs in my head every day, all day. From Winston Churchill, never let a good crisis go to waste. And I put this in my head because I can get caught up on the challenge and how heavy this is and how much work that this is and how much I don't know during this. But I'm trying to always look at it but where is the opportunity that we get during this time? Where's the opportunity that the one time that this has happened to where everybody had to be in their homes with their families, with themselves, with their own thoughts, with their own focus on their business? How often do we actually get that? I feel like we just were in R4 in Las Vegas, right? 3 months ago. And I remember talking about all the things that we wanted to do, but don't have, a time to do it. And all of a sudden that was put in front of me without even knowing. And many of you were put in the same situation to where you could actually look at your business and evaluate it effectively for costs that you were paying, expenses that you were paying, costs that you were incurring that maybe you shouldn't have, staff, team that you may have that weren't effective or weren't necessary within your business. You got the ability to look at all of that and decide how you need to move forward. Don't let this crisis go to waste. Make sure when we come out on the other side, you're coming out of it the way that you want. The things that you chose, the things that you wanted to carry over, make sure that that is what is coming with you. And this is also another term that I've seen in probably every presentation that I've heard. Every leader that talks, it's pivot. But in pivot, I found, in this quote, it's a change in strategy without a change in vision, because it's very easy to pivot, but forget what the goal was that you had. Don't change that goal. Many of you had a dollar amount you wanted to hit, a transaction amount you wanted to hit. You can still get there. You just have to shorten that time that you were going to get there, whether it's 2 months, whether it's 3 months, whether it's 4 months. You now have 8 months to get to that number. So how are you going to change the way that you're looking at it? How are you going to change the strategy to get there? What tactics do you need to put into place? What structure? How do you get your business more organized so you can get there? Really look at it, in terms of getting to the same place you were going in a very different way, and hopefully a more effective and even a smarter way. This has allowed us, technology has allowed us to implement changes in our business that are ultimately going to save you time, save your clients time, and hopefully those things continue in your business and you don't go back. We want to build businesses that not only just survive, but thrive. And this is a way to look at it. This pandemic really showed us that we need to spend more time on getting people's, our businesses within RE/MAX healthy. Healthy in a good economy, healthy and prepared should something happen, such as a global pandemic, such as, you live in areas where hurricanes are a reality, where natural disasters, they are real and they can impact your market in an instant, just like this did. So how do we get your businesses healthy so that you are ready, and hopefully nothing, you never need it, but you're prepared and you're ready for that time when we might. Real estate is a cyclical business. All it takes is, a natural disaster, a bad economy to change your closings, change your transaction quantity. So this is going to help you for when this happens going down the road. So let's get you all thriving, not just surviving. So these are going to be the 5 ways that you need to look at your business differently right now. So 5, I don't know why 5, 5 leadership skills, 5, it seems like, 3 is too little, 7 is too many, so it's 5. And so number 1 was embracing technology. As I said earlier, some of you, for all of us, we had to embrace technology. There was no ifs, ands, buts. If there was any hesitancy, you had to embrace the digital version of what we were doing. We had to look at the entire process, the entire real estate process. Most importantly, how do you get this home? How do you get this place in front of consumers in an effective way, just like walking through and doing a showing? In embracing technology, you also had to look at your greatest personal impacts. We can't do the face-to-face. If your greatest impact is the way that you are with your clients in person, you had to take that online and you had to figure out how to make it equally impactful online. We started doing the 3D virtual tours. We do Facebook Live. Many of you have probably seen the new app TikTok. I always call it Tic-Tac, so I always have to think about it. TikTok, agents are now showing homes via TikTok. Why? Because that's where the consumers are. That's where the eyes are. That's where the people are. Nothing is beyond reach. Look where they are, find your audience, find their need, and connect them using technology. So ask yourself, in technology, what in the current process, what in your personal offering can you do online? Because I think it's important for you to understand that technology, with technology companies, we've had disruptors for years. We've had many companies come in and think that they can be the connection, they can be the conduit, they can be the showing, and they can be the closing for any client. And thankfully during this time, we have proven that there still has to be a human being in the middle of this transaction. It is extremely important to have the human contact, the human touch, the human relationship during this transaction. And so, thankfully, COVID-19 created a space for us that I think for a while we were questioning, where is our value? How do I compete? This showed us that you don't need to compete. They're not competing with us. We don't need to compete with them. We have different offerings. We have that long sought after personal relationship that was so crucial during this time of isolation. Number 2 is leveraging your existing assets and resources. What do I mean by that? You have existing skills, technology, vendors that you're using. You need to look and see what you currently have, what you're currently utilizing, and how do you use those in a more effective way to meet the consumers where their needs are right now. How do you align them with your customers' current needs, because they have changed very quickly. I have on here Uber, because all of you, I would be shocked if there was anybody who's not familiar with Uber. But if you look at the company Uber and you look at what they had as existing assets and resources, they had technology, really, really great technology. And they also had a workforce of drivers who were vetted to service clients and take them wherever they needed to go. So what happened during this time is that workforce wasn't working anymore because people weren't driving anywhere. So how did Uber look at their company and figure out where the clients are so that they can service using what they already have? How do we use our technology, and how do we use these drivers who are already ready, willing, and how do we keep them employed? What Uber did is, obviously there's restaurant needs. Restaurants that were able to still do takeout food could connect their product with consumers as long as they got it there. So Uber Eats became even bigger than it was before, because it was connecting a community in the way of food. It was allowing restaurants to utilize their asset to connect with their clients. They also created Uber Freight. As you know, Amazon got completely bombarded with shipping and ways to deliver. Well, Uber created Uber Freight to help deliver some of that overflow of packages. They had the drivers, they connected the product. They also have Uber Works, which helped connect work, different companies using their assets and their resources. The point of showing you Uber is they could have very easily gone bankrupt because they didn't have a service that was relevant at the time during the crisis. But instead, they pivoted and they thought about using what they have. And I guarantee that these additional revenue lines that they created, most of them will likely be an ongoing. So a lot of additional resources or additional ancillary businesses can also be created during this time when you're forced to really think about what you have and what you can provide. So the questions on number 2 that you need to ask yourself: what do people need most right now? Thankfully, you have a need. We have a home is an absolute need. It's an essential need for people. You have what they need, but how do you feel that with existing resources, and how do you expand on it? How do you expand with what you're doing, especially if you can't connect, your service with the need right during this time? So how can I fill that need with existing resources? Be careful about adding new resources to your business right now. You should be cutting expenses, not adding expenses. Number 3, deepen your loyalty with your existing clients. You should have been using this time to reach out to your network, reach out to that sphere of influence that you have. Everybody is in this together. Your clients are in this at the same time that you are in this. You needed to be real, you needed to be authentic, you need to be transparent in your efforts to serve them, and not serving in a way to actively sell, right? We said serving is selling. This is a way that people understand when you are at the end trying to sell, or when you're actually trying to serve. So make sure that you are showing that you care, and showing that that they can trust you, because you're showing them homes online. You're embracing technology, showing them homes online. Trust is so important to your consumers. Show them the warts of the properties that you're showing. Make sure to be honest and candid when you are dealing with these clients. Show them the problems of a property. Don't let them find them, because if you aren't honest, they're going to see through that, and you're going to lose a client very, very quickly. Trust is so important right now, and matters even more so than it did before. I have this picture on the screen. US and Canada, we have a company called Sky Zone, where these are warehouses of trampolines and those big foam balls. Their service has to have people inside of their building for them to be able to get revenue. This is not a business that looks to be opening anytime soon, because they have to figure out a way to safely sanitize and make sure that they have clients able to come into their warehouses. Now, so what they do to try to deepen their loyalty, so they have existing clients. I don't know how many birthday parties I've gone to for my kids at Sky Zone. What they did, in an effort to try to keep some of their employees working, to try to make sure that they stay top of mind and let the clients know that they are here to serve, they opened up an online virtual birthday party. It's free to their clients, free virtual birthday parties, to try to keep that connection with their clients, to try to make sure that they can support their clients in a very, very important time when you have a 5-year-old that can't have a birthday party or have people over. How do you create a memorable, impactful experience for them? So what they did, is they started using their employees, and they connected with their clients and created experiences for their kids to never forget. And in doing that, they've deepened a loyalty to their clients. And when they do open their doors, these clients will remember what they did to support them during this difficult time. So the question to ask, how can I best engage and communicate with your clients right now? How can I best engage and communicate with my clients? What can I do to encourage my current customers to support my business without selling it to them? What are other people doing? Facebook has been a resource to where I've seen lots of outreach, lots of our RE/MAX agents reaching out to their communities, many of you reaching out to your communities, offering food, services, collaboration. That's what you need to be doing right now, is deepening that relationship so that you've become a pillar within your community and somebody that comes to the forefront of somebody's mind when they need to do something within the real estate space. So number 4, explore the benefits of collaboration. And this African proverb, if you want to go far, go together, right? This is a time to really look at, kind of expanding on the deepening the loyalty, is find ways that you can partner and ways that you can collaborate with your community. And I have a couple examples on this because true partnerships are a win-win, but they have to be a win-win. They can't be something that you are doing one-sided in the hopes of getting business. On the left side, this, if you aren't friends with Rob Levy, he's an agent of ours in Australia. Super social, puts lots of his thoughts, ideas, support on his Facebook page. He's somebody that you should reach out to. Super creative, funny. He's an influencer. What he did, he was honest and said, I don't have many transactions right now. I don't have any transactions, to be honest, but I have great skills. I'm a great videographer, and I'm, a great connection to the network. So the first one I saw is he went to a local butcher store, and he just promoted, saying, hey, they're still open for takeout, great meat. If you want, go to Bob's Butchery. The Annerly Glassworks, he was practicing using his Matterport technology, which is something that he's using in his business and something he wants to expand upon. So he went into this glass store and used his, this was, when you go to his site and you click on it, this is what you see is his promotion comes up very quickly where it says www.thedigitalagent.com.au. But then it goes into the Matterport view of this glass company and becomes all about them. So very, very little about him, but promotes the heck out of this local business in his area. He did a cheesecake bake-off, as you can see, Toby at the Small Crop in Wynnum, and created a personal experience where he did a bake-off with this person, promoting his business, creating a collaboration, connecting his network with their network, and doing it in a very, very authentic way. The example on the right is Chantel Limon from Camarillo, California. She did something similar to where she was doing, the example I have on here, she did a tea tasting and a tea pairing with one of the local businesses that she frequents in Camarillo. These are very easy ways for you to connect with your community, allow for your business to work alongside a local business. Everybody needs support. You support them, they're going to support you. So these were just a few of the examples in the many, many that I've seen over the last few weeks. So the questions to ask: who can you collaborate with? Who are some of the local businesses? If you have a space, if you have an office space, what are the businesses that surround your office that you can support during this time, and in turn can support your business as well? What synergies do you have with certain businesses? How can you work with companies that do staging? How can you collaborate with them and support their business so that when they're back in business, they're going to support you too? So what current partnerships could mutually benefit your business? And number 5 is very important. Try and fail and try again. This is a time where we get to try things. This is the time where that think outside of the box, you actually can try those crazy ideas that you come up with. You can experiment and you can fail, and failure right now is absolutely acceptable. But be very careful with the investment that you're putting into these ideas. Make sure that they're not monetary resource dependent. Try to come up with these ideas that are creative, that cost very little, if anything. I have 2 examples of companies that are vastly different today than what they originally put their thought into what they were going to be. One of them on the left is YouTube. Obviously, YouTube to be a conglomerate of videos that you likely see something on a daily basis from. This company was a video dating site when it first came out. And it very quickly understood that their offering wasn't valid during that time, and ended up having to pivot and change their business with very little investment. They had the resources, they had what they needed, they just had to reach the consumers in a different way. And so they pivoted, and it obviously became the site where there's content for everybody. Another company that failed in the beginning was Play-Doh. Play-Doh is one of my nemesis. I love Play-Doh. It keeps my kids occupied, but the amount of Play-Doh that ends up on my floor and dries to my carpet it's a balance. It's a love-hate. But in the very beginning, Play-Doh was a wall cleaner. It was a company that created a product that cleaned walls. It was successful in people bought it for that purpose. However, they realized very quickly that it could repurpose, throw a little bit of dye in it, and it was something that the kids just loved to play with. You know, when parents had it, kids would play with it. And so they repurposed same resources, same product, repurposed it for a different audience. So very important for you to look at your offering and the audience that you are trying to serve. Be creative. A couple fails, you know, big companies that failed at things that they tried. Coca-Cola, they had a line called Coke Max that they put out there. Tried it, failed. Amazon, big company Amazon, they created a Fire phone. They wanted to get in the phone industry. Felt they had the consumers to connect. Wasn't the product that the consumers wanted. So they failed, but that was okay. It was minimal investment to them. And then Dyson. Some of you may have the bagless vacuum, which is called Dyson. They had 5,126 different designs that they used before they found the one that consumers were drawn to. So the question that you can ask yourself, if I do a small test on a new idea and it fails, what is the worst that can happen? If I do a small test on my business, on a new idea and it fails, what is the worst that can happen? And what knowledge do I gain by trying? And what is the potential for my business if it succeeds? Okay. I had to include a few quotes, and one of them comes from one of your own. It's Terry Cardenas. I saw this on Facebook. It wasn't yesterday at 8:33 a.m. This was a couple weeks back, but I included it in this presentation, and I actually have included it in other presentations because I think this is a true and valid and important point for you to know. Companies that are waiting for things to go back to normal will not make it. People who hid, people who are sitting back, not doing anything are not going to make it. This has tested our agents. And I like to believe that RE/MAX is the home of the top producer, the best producers, the people that don't hide. And so I hope our loss is minimal. I hope that our companies, our businesses are not waiting for things to go back to normal. Another quote, Valerie Garcia, she speaks a lot on Inman, she speaks a lot, and she had put this on her Facebook. Our greatest threat as a business is falling in love with our winning formula. Our winning formula has changed. Our winning formula that was working 3 months ago has changed dramatically. It's not saying that that winning formula might not work again. It means that you've got to be open to other formulas to add to your business. If you were a business that relied solely on tourism and tourism isn't happening. I did a presentation for Greece, similarly to this one. And they rely on their golden visa, promoting the golden visa and getting people into Greece. That's half of their business. So how do we feel that half of the business that we don't know when that is going to happen again? I do believe it is going to. I think people have looked at their countries, their homes, and are deciding where they want to be. You know, it might not be in the current country they're in, it might not be in the current home they're in. So I do believe it will go back somewhat. But how do we replace that 50% of what was their winning formula with something that can also win? Adam Contos did a presentation about a week ago, and he talked about looking at your business. I like to think of it looking through a different lens, because you have a then, you have a now, and you have a new. You have 3 months ago, you have a current as to whatever this week is, and you have new, which could be tomorrow, It could be 5 months from now. If you look at your business and you look at it in every decision that you make, and you look at it for a then, a now, and a new, no matter what it is, and know that the new is going to be a then at some point. Don't marry into these and leave them. Know that every time you come to a decision, you have to evaluate it for a then, a now, and a new, whatever it is at that moment. And this is another quote that you have to keep in the forefront of your mind. It's that it is not the strongest species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the most responsive to change. Don't sit back. Do not sit back. And I think even next, and almost equally as important, is don't go backwards because you've already been there. We have people who are already coming out of this pandemic who are going back to the way that they worked 3 months ago. Don't do that. You have added pieces into your business that are going to make you work smarter. You're going to not have to drive clients around to 16 homes before they go back to the first one that they saw. They're going to do a lot of this work online for their safety and yours. Take advantage of that, because this allows you to spend that time doing other things that are important to your business. Don't go back because you're going to be left behind. The technology, you've embraced it, embrace it and add to it. Make sure that you're continually adding to it, because the technology that exists right now is being developed so that it tweaks and it's even more super cool 3 months from now. So make sure that you're constantly evolving and do not go back. And that is my content, I think, 8:57. Hopefully I'm open for questions and conversation. So if you guys want to stay on, if there's, would love to hear your thoughts, even if you don't have questions, would love to hear if anything got you thinking in a way that you might, get off this webinar and do an action. Is there something that made you think that you want to do? Hopefully something triggered.
Thank you, Shawna. There's a couple of questions in the chat. So
I'm gonna stop sharing so I can see you guys now.
Okay. And I just want to apologize. There's construction going on right next to me. So if it gets loud, I'm going to mute myself. So, I know that there's a lot of parents of young kids, especially on this call. How do you juggle everything? Like, how do you make time for your family? You mentioned that's extremely important, of course. And how do you do it? What tips you got for us?
Well, first I'll be honest and authentic and transparent and say I'm not perfect at it either. I'm doing my best. It's been an interesting job running a global development department during a global pandemic to where the balance of my time has been drastically changed. I've been putting out fires on a daily basis. But my kids now, for the first time since last week was the first time that I didn't have them here and have to beg and plead them not to interrupt a webinar. The offerings of candy, the offerings of nothing worked. But, I realized very importantly that this was a time I haven't been able to spend time outside of maternity leave with my family on a daily basis. And so it was carving out those moments, knowing I had to be their teacher. I had a kindergartner, so I had to be a teacher during this time. I had to make sure and I told the team, if you don't get me between 11:30 and 12:30, it's because we're doing homework. I really tried hard to make sure that my kids still had somewhat of a structure while I lived in this complete chaos. So I'm learning and I'm trying to get better too, but it is always just make sure that what is most important. And do your best to put that first. Everything else comes after that.
Yeah, I agree. We have another question from Mabel McMillan from Cayman Islands, which I believe is actually James. He's just here. I'm going to unmute him. Hi, James. So
Hey, how you doing?
the question is, what
Hi.
has been the point that you have had to grow at and why? Maybe you could expand on that, James?
Yeah, basically I was just, my question is just, there's so much information, so much, I guess, ideas. And I mean, obviously, we're obviously doing a lot of Zoom calls. How do you filter through and find the gems that can really help you be better?
It's a lot of focus, because right now I have, ideas coming at me every which way of what people feel is the right thing at this moment. We have a call every Thursday with all of our region owners, and we have ideas as to what that call should be every week, right? Everybody has a different journey they're on with COVID, a different impact. So we have to look at it for what is going to have the greatest impact, the greatest return on the investment of time or resource, and what really makes sense. When I talk about taking risks, we're looking at new and cool ways that we can evolve our business, but it's also very easy to get into those rabbit holes that aren't going to lead towards anything too. And we likely will go, down paths that don't lead us anywhere, and that's okay as long as we catch it before we've spent a lot of time and resource on it. But it's really trying to keep in mind the goal that we're trying to achieve. What are we trying to achieve, not only from our level as RE/MAX LLC, but what are we trying to achieve for every single business, RE/MAX business we have, whether it's an office, whether it's an agent, and does what we're doing impact their business? Is it going to have a positive impact to their business? And that's the way I kind of carve out. I try to think through the result as much as I can before I choose a path. Does that help? Okay.
Thank you. He says yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Another question that I have is, you talked about collaboration and being able to go further together. Do you think now is a good time for our agents to start building teams?
We do. We do. And that is on our list of topics that so Broker Owner Conference is August 17th and 18th, and we're putting together topics that we feel our owners need to start thinking to, and also our agents start thinking to. How do I work smart? What are the benefits of a team? Natural teams are forming right now because people are trying to find a way to work with others. That in extreme isolation comes ideas of collaboration, and a way to collaborate and build on somebody's strength is to form a team. People have had the time to see people for their qualities, their values, their strengths, their abilities during this time. And I think naturally people are saying, gosh, we should work together. I do this great, you do this great. What a dynamic team we would be coming together. So that teams is a topic that we want to develop more on, become, more team friendly, not only, on the aspect of RE/MAX LLC and team structure, but resources, training, and all of that.
Great. I don't see any other questions. We're a little bit past the hour. So
does RE/MAX time go past? Are we cool with? I know we start at 8, but do we have to end at 9?
Okay, well, thank you. This has been very, very good. You made several very strong points, and I saw people taking notes. Thank you, Shawna, for being with us. This was a very, very good day already. Thank you. My pleasure. And please feel free to reach out. I mean, I just also want to say, thank you to Team RE/MAX CCA. You have great leadership, individually, each and every one of you within your regions. But, Team RE/MAX CCA, Ricardo, Christina, Jaime,
Lede, Terry, all of you, Andrea, sorry, I'm like, wait, I'm missing one. Sorry, Andrea. All of you have really shown me what you're made of. You know, this is a time where leaders are made. Great people are also, you know, great businesses and great people are built during a crisis. And I knew you were great before, but just the way that you have evolved and the leadership you've shown, I want to say thank you. You know, your network is who they are and what they are because of you.
Thank you so much for saying that. It means a lot to us. Thank you. Well, we love working with headquarters and we love our tribe, our community. We have built a strong community that's getting stronger by the day, really. So thank you, everyone. We're going to wrap it up and call it
Okay.
a day. So,
Thank you, everybody. Reach out anytime.
okay,
Good
thank
luck.
Thank you, Shawna.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, guys. Thank
Ricardo,
you,
do you want me to unmute people in case they want to stick around?
Trabajan los dos en lo mismo.
tema del COVID, ¿verdad? Entonces, si tú deseas
There you go. Goodbye.
All right. Thank you guys for the opportunity.
Hola.
Thank
Hola,
you.
hola a todos.
Bye. Bye, Jean.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank
Josie.
you.
Shawna, that yellow dress looks marvelous on you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I believe that's Evaristo. I hear.
Yes, it is. You look
Thank
crispy.
you.
I don't know. It shows. It
Thank
shows.
you. Bye, guys.
Bye.
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 Thank you, Ricardo.
Hi, Raul.
Hi, Shawna.
Bye. Good to see you.
See you.
All right. Bye.